But every Man United fan going towards this game said they needed the win. They needed to right the wrongs from midweek against Newcastle and the game against Man City, which in my opinion was worse than the Newcastle game, given that's your bitter rivals Man City, and you completely folded in that game. So they had to right those wrongs today. I think there's certain things we'll talk about during the game that I think Erik ten Hag didn't do well. But on the flip side as well, he kept his killers on the pitch. He kept Bruno Fernandes on the pitch, which, to be fair, I mean, you could have subbed off all 11 Man United players. Let's be honest with it. I think only really Maguire and Onana was having a good game for Man United. Everyone else, and Scott McTominay to an extent, everyone else was poor for Man United. Like, if Erik ten Hag had 9 substitutions, he could have used all 9. Let's be real about it. But on the flip side, look, he kept Bruno Fernandes on the pitch and he rewarded his trust with a fantastic goal. But let's talk about this Man United team holistically, because I understand they won today, but this win, as far as I see it, is just papering over the cracks. Because I think everyone watching this, whether you're a Manchester United fan or not, will understand that it's not been good enough one bit for Manchester United. And that's performance-wise. But even more scary than performances, because performances can be right, performances can be wrong. There's a lack of identity around Manchester United Football Club. And that's something that really you can't seem to put your finger on why. Is it the manager? Is it the owners upstairs? Is it players? It's probably a combination of all of those factors. But one thing's for sure, Manchester United throughout their history have always had an identity. Even the bad Manchester United teams, of which there were very few over recent history at least, there's always been identity about them. There's always been something you can pinpoint about that Man United team. There's characters. There's personalities in the squad. This Manchester United team that I see nowadays, it lacks all that. It lacks that real personality. It lacks that identity. You go to watch Manchester United, and it's like the lottery. It's like you're spinning a wheel at Vegas. You don't know what you're going to get. You can't sit there and watch a Manchester United game and say, okay, I'm going to expect this from Man United. When you watch Arsenal, when you watch Man City, when you watch Newcastle, Brighton, Liverpool, Tottenham nowadays, you know what you expect. You see a style on the football pitch. You see certain players going to stand up and be counted. You see the rhythms they're playing through midfield. With Manchester United, it's all off the cuff. There's no real identity about them. There's no style of play. I hear Erik ten Hag saying he wants to implement what he's doing at Ajax, but he can't do that because he hasn't got quite the same players. I think that's a bad excuse, to be honest. My friend, you spent 100 million on Antony. You bought in Rasmus Højlund for 75 million. Casemiro's your signing. Mason Mount's your signing. Christian Eriksen's your signing. Apart from maybe Bruno Fernandes, every other player that you picked in that starting 11 today, even Garnacho, you're the one that brought him up the ranks. Those are players that you've decided to put in that team. So where's this excuse where you haven't got the right players? Because the money's been supplied to you, 100 million for Antony. You can't tell me Glazers have not given him money. Now, Glazers going, that's another issue. I do believe the Glazers need to leave Manchester United. Make no mistake about it. But you can't put all the blame on the Glazers. You can't shift it all upstairs. The buck has to stop at the manager at some point. He has to hold some kind of accountability. He can't just sit there and go, oh, but it's not my fault. The upstairs is doing wrong. Oh, we signed the wrong players. I haven't got the right system in place. My friends, if you look at Manchester United starting 11 today, bar Harry Maguire, and I guess Johnny Evans as well, most of our players and Wan-Bissaka, they're your players. They're your signings. They're your players that you brought into the door and you want to play at that football club. So you can't make the excuse now that they're not implementing what you want to implement. That's a poor, shoddy excuse, Erik ten Hag. Now, do I think Erik ten Hag deserves more time? Absolutely. I'm a massive, massive fan of Erik ten Hag. I think what he did in his first season has proven that he's a good manager. That Manchester United team the season before last year were dead and buried. They finished 6 miles off the pace. Last year, they won a trophy and finished top 4. It's a fantastic season. They've gone toe-to-toe with some of the greatest teams. But this year, there's been a real switch up. Has it been the egos got to the players? Has it been too much arrogance? Is Erik ten Hag not managing the same he's used to? Maybe it's accumulation of those factors. But one thing's for sure, it needs to change. And although I did say I'm a massive fan of Erik ten Hag, if he lost today and he got sacked, he could have no excuse. No excuse whatsoever. Because although I believe that Erik ten Hag is a good manager, you have to have some kind of, what's the word? You have to have some kind of like accountability. You have to have some kind of presence. Have standards. Manchester United are the biggest club in England. If they had lost today, it would have been 3 losses in a row. 3-0, 3-0, then a loss to Fulham at 1-0 or something at home. Away from home. That's not good enough. For me, if you manage a big club like an Arsenal, a Manchester United, a Liverpool, etc., if you lose 3 matches in a row in the manner in which you lose them, your job has to be in jeopardy. You have to create some kind of standards. I'm not saying be really get cold feet and sack him as soon as there's a bad performance, but for Manchester United with Erik ten Hag, it's been bad performances consistently this season. Today was a bad performance they got away with, but Sheffield United a few weeks back, bad performance they won 2-1 in. Man City, bad performance. Newcastle, bad performance. Lost to Brighton, bad performance. There's very few times I've seen Manchester United actually play well this season. Very few times. Even Wolves, first day of the season, very lucky to win that game. VAR came out and said they made a mistake. A few weeks later against Nottingham Forest, 2-0 down after 10 minutes. It's very rare you win games after being 2-0 down so early in the match. So Manchester United have got a lot to look around in. And it's not just the manager, it's the players as well. They all need to look at each other because collectively it's not good enough. I could go through this whole Manchester United team, genuinely every single player, and pinpoint each one. I can do that. But I think overall it's a collective thing as well. The team is not firing in the same direction. And it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later because you can't be Manchester United, who's meant to be the pinnacle of clubs in the Premier League, won everything there is to win in the game, and have such low standards.